Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Lifeboat Live with me, absolutely Arian. And I am so happy to have you here on this Thursday for the season finale of the Lifeboat Live. Listen, thank you, Jarrett. I see that you're on here already watching on YouTube. Great to have you on here, a faithful member of FCC in Atlanta. So thank you for joining. And if you are also watching, please make sure to like Jarrett, just say hi, let us know who's watching, who you are, where you're watching from. And I would love to be able to engage with you and for you to be able to join the conversation. So if you are watching on the replay, welcome. We're no longer here, but please feel free to leave comments. I always like to come back and engage with those as well. So as you know, we will be next season, as I've been saying throughout this season, that we will be transitioning off of Facebook Live and being strictly on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure that you go ahead and do that and click the notification bell so that you're notified every time we go live. Jarrett says, Faith Covenant is coming. Okay, great. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. So some of you may know who my next guest is, familiar with her beautiful voice and her journey. If you don't know her, well, you're about to get to know her. She's a fabulous young lady that I've met all the way back in 2017. And I've got to, kind of see her grow and mature and blossom. And it's just a beautiful transition, from afar. But, it's just great to see where she's come to now. So she may not need an introduction, but she's new to the lifeboat. So please welcome Alise.
Hey.
Hi. So good to have you, especially for the last one of this season. This is the season finale.
This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. Listen, before we get into it, Alise, I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am Alise. I am a preacher's kid.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jarrett. So good to see you on here. I am a singer. I'm an artist. Let's see. I just graduated Howard University School of Social Work,
Yep.
master's, and I am a therapist, a mental health therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am kind of in the space right now where I am combining mental health and my love for music, and also my background in ministry. So I am in a beautiful transition. Like I said, I just graduated in May, and so I am having a blast out here.
Yeah, I bet.
So that is a little bit about me, but I'm sure we're gonna get a little bit more in there.
Well, yeah, and congratulations on the graduation and all these accolades. It's just lovely to see. Yes, we've all known you to be the singing more. We've known you to be, the star, little starlet, the shining star, and so it's lovely to see, also this other side of you becoming a therapist. Focusing on mental health, which is so important. And it's something that the Lifeboat has been talking about. Now, we've been talking about it since about 2018 is when I started this.
Wow.
And it's been important to me just because of my own personal journey with my mental health, and trying to destigmatize whatever stigmas are kind of still circulating about mental health. We tend to be snobs about like our brain health. When it comes to our body, we'll take whatever medication, whatever antibiotics that we need to heal our body. But we all, or a lot of us, seem to be really kind of proud and shy about our mental health, and taking care of that.
Right.
And so, I share a lot about my journey on there. And what I would love to hear from you is just about your journey and through life, and what your deepest life lesson that has brought you to this point right now. Like, what was it that you really kind of leaned on? What lesson have you really leaned on to kind of carry you through?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know I just briefly said that I come out of a ministry family.
Mm-hmm.
That really has informed so much about me. It has informed why it has influenced, I should say, why I took the career path that I did.
Right.
Um, growing up with my dad is a pastor, my oldest brother is a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
both sets of my grandparents were pastors, and then the sets above that were pastors. So coming from such a long line of pastors ministry, I really realized how much goes unspoken, how much goes unaddressed, how much being at the forefront of the church, being at the forefront of the community that you are leading, you don't really get the most opportunity to have any kind of mental issue. And
Or
when
making mistakes.
or make any mistakes, which
Mhm.
further impacts your mental state
Mhm.
in general, right? So you
Mhm.
can't make mistakes. God forbid you do something that any other person would do.
Mhm.
So you become perfect. You become for a lot of people, unfortunately, you become an idol. Um,
Mhm.
you don't put yourself on the pedestal, but the rest of the world does put you on a pedestal. And so because you are up there, you feel like you have to live this impressive life that is pleasing and satisfying to people. And a lot of times the focus goes from being pleasing to God to simply being pleasing to people.
Mm.
And then your spiritual health kind of goes in jeopardy. And it's not that you are doing terrible things. I mean, well, to each their own, right?
Right.
You're doing maybe necessarily terrible things, but it's that people have made you an idol, and
Mhm.
pleasing people has become your idol. And so you get so lost. You lose yourself.
Mhm.
I don't even want to say that God gets lost in the sauce, but in a sense, God gets lost in the sauce of our career, of our life, of our lifestyle. And so as I started getting older, I was like, you know what? I understand. I was able to see peers and friends, other pastors' children, other pastors' families, I'll say, and say, man, this is a really, there's a lot of unhealthy people within this system, within this
Mhm.
organization.
Mhm.
I was like, we need somebody to talk to. Then I realized that, well, of course, going to therapy, mental health is still very, very, very stigmatized, especially within the Black community and in
Yep.
Black Christian, Black faith community. Um,
I
a
think
lot
it's
of
across
times,
the whole African diaspora, really.
oh my God, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for
You
sure.
know.
I think it's heightened in church
Yep.
because God is supposed to be our answer, right?
Mhm.
So then it turns into, you have some people that are still on that wave, and then you have other people who are like, okay, I'm cool with going to therapy, but also I don't really want to go to a therapist in the city that I pastor.
Because they don't want to know your business.
I can't tell them what's really going on, whether
Mhm.
it is what's going on with my family or whether it's what's going on in my mind,
Mhm.
because then I lose my credibility as a minister, as
Yep.
a worship leader, as a whatever it is.
Mhm.
So it's this ongoing cycle that has been going on for generations and generations and generations, and it's getting worse and worse. And we keep seeing all of these pastors commit suicide.
Mhm.
And it seems to not really be slowing down. And it also doesn't seem that they don't have enough Jesus.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't have
Mhm.
anybody to talk to. And so that has really got me to where I am, because I said, well, who can we talk to?
Right.
Church, the saints, they got us to talk to, right?
Yeah.
Who do we go to? We can go to our other pastor friend who is also hurting. And then they may accidentally give us pain back.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I can go to my friend who is not in church at all. And what are they going to say? Because they don't know anything about this,
They can
right?
encourage you with the scripture if you need a little bit of that, little,
Like, and it's cool. Like sometimes we do need a secular,
Yeah.
and advice. And that's awesome. But some things that are spiritual and mental, we need somebody that can handle the capacity of the spiritual and mental. And so
Absolutely.
it's like, okay, Lord, who are these people supposed to talk to? Who am I supposed to talk to? Who? And I really felt like You know, it's funny. I went back and forth with being a therapist for years.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, I was like, yeah, I want to be a therapist. But my reason was not this yet. I just felt a pull, like you're going to be a therapist. But I didn't know. I couldn't tell you who I wanted to help. I didn't necessarily know why. Then I got to college and I was like, okay, maybe not. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
Then in school, it was like, no, the Lord was like, no. This is where you're supposed to be at. Like, this is where you've struggled. And so this is where I'm going to call you.
Right.
So you are going to, you know what I'm saying? So this is where I'm leading you. So I was like, okay, God, got it. And so, like I said, that is really what has informed my life and has gotten me to this place. And so when we're going into the lessons, right, that you said, something that, and I'm just going to be fully honest here, something that is a lesson that I've learned, but I'm still learning, is that, well, one, simplest way to say it, imposter syndrome is very real. Right? All of us deal with it. All of us deal with it at some point of our life. And you might go 40 years and never feel it, but it's going to hit you at some point, right? One of the things that God has been helping me with is when you realize, I've allowed you to know, to recognize this is imposter syndrome. When you start feeling it, you need to automatically recognize it's a lie. And literally cast it out. I know it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like,
you can't let that germinate or fester, right?
No. Yeah. So it's like, okay, Lord, this is, and I'm going to say this too. So many people thought that I was supposed to grow up and become the first lady.
Yeah.
You were supposed to grow up and you were supposed to
marry a pastor.
We need you to be the East location's, assistant pastor. That's what everyone thought. And I'm not even saying, my parents didn't even put that on me. My parents never were like, oh, you're going to marry a pastor, or you're going to pastor. No, my parents didn't do that. But it was everyone else. Like I said, the people that we feel like we have to live for.
Right.
And so when you're told that, wow, being told that so much, I don't know that I realized that it was soaking into my spirit as something that I felt like I needed to live up to. But when I decided to go a different route, and granted, I'm not married. God knows who I'm married, right? However, that's not my focus. That's not a desire. I'm not in that direction. It's, whatever. But I am going in a little different direction than what has been spoken over me.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? And that's when I realized how easy it is to fall into imposter syndrome.
So just not to cut you, because I love where this is going.
Right, I don't want to overtalk.
No, you're not overtalking. This is very interesting. I love it. But I just wanted, when you were saying that, like, you kind of realized that you had to kind of make your own path. What happened in that moment there? I don't know if that's what you're about to say, for you to kind of find your identity, break away from what people wanted you to be, and you finding your own identity. Like, was it leaving home? How did that start to happen and manifest for you?
Yeah, leaving home helped, and I didn't leave home. I don't know if I would say that when I left for school. So I wouldn't say that my agenda in leaving home was to go against what people have said I was going to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just God orchestrated that, okay, you're going to leave the nest. You're going to leave all of the people that you are comfortable, or that that knows you. And you're not going to hear any of those things anymore. Now, you might read it on Facebook. You might get a DM.
Yeah.
Somebody had a dream that the Lord was going, okay, thank you. I get so many prophecies of what I'm going to do. And I'm like, Lord, is this your will for my life?
Right.
And one of the things, so yeah, leaving definitely was a thing. And leaving was hard. Because while you, in a sense, grow to resent people telling you what you're going to do with your life, you get comfortable in it. That's why people don't leave abusive relationships, because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
We
it's
don't
familiar.
it's like we don't like it, but it's like it's what I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I wasn't getting what I know or knew, it was like,
Like a
okay,
fish out of
I'm
water
really,
a little bit.
yeah, I'm really having to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's one of the things I would say. I don't know if that answered you well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
But then also, I think when it comes to realizing and recognizing my imposter syndrome in this new space, then what I realized was that some of the people that thought I was going to maybe do certain things, maybe their support dropped off a little bit.
That's interesting.
Right? And so it's like, and it's so funny because it's not malicious.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's not even malicious at all. It's just simply when people make up in their mind what you are going to do with your life
And who you are.
they are expecting you to follow it.
Right.
And so when you're not, they get quiet, really quiet. People that were loud your whole life gets extremely quiet. And so then
why do you think that is? Have you thought about it?
That is, oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, I think I have avoided. So you might be onto something I need to work on. I may have avoided digging into that because I may not want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. And when you start realizing, like, why were you so invested in your vision for my life?
And really and truly, I don't even know that you need to know because that ain't none of your business.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So, you know, in that, when you start realizing that part, then and you start losing the volume of their support or approval. I'll say I like approval better. You then start feeling like you have no support. And it's so funny because it was like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month, I don't know, a month or two ago. I was by myself and I said out loud, I was like, man, I don't feel like I have any support. When I tell you the Lord was like, excuse me?
Yeah, girl.
He was like, are you for real right now? Literally was like, so just because the people that you were used to being loud and clapping when you did what they wanted you to do, just because maybe they're a little bit more quiet now, you feel like you don't have any support. And God really had to check me with that. And the thing is, when I talk to other people, I realize how common that is. People that you want to support you, or you expect support from, or you expect praise and approval and all that stuff from, when they don't give it to you, you start the what is it? The minority starts outweighing the majority.
You know why that makes sense? Because like if you even take that and use that same example in, let's say, like relationships, right? Like romantic or even, you know, platonic close relationships, when those people start to withhold like maybe affection or attention or whatever it is that you normally would get from them,
like you're not loved.
It's painful, right? Because there's a value there that either you value their opinion or, well, I mean, even in that context, right? Normally that even goes into the, if it's done deliberately anyways, it goes into the context of now even being like emotionally abusive, right? And so, right. And so although the people who you're talking about, like you said, it's not malicious, but I wonder if it can have similar effects to our own brains, our own like our psychology, that we're just kind of like, we're feeling that rejection and wondering, you know, like wanting to kind of like pull them back in because we're kind of being like stonewalled in some ways. Like if it's the same symptoms as being stonewalled is what I'm wondering.
Absolutely. And that's a good point, because a lot of times what we register as rejection is not rejection. Right? A lot of times, one, it's God saving you. Two, it could be a person honestly not realizing what is happening to you. Do you say rejection and withheld support can be used? Absolutely. But then there's times, Adelia, where we register it as rejection or we register it as abuse. and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a little bit more quiet. And you know what? They have a right to not approve
Mm-hmm. Okay.
of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, they actually do have a right to reject. And then, but we personalize it so much. And
Yeah.
the reason rejection hits so hard for us is because we feel like we did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to find out what it was that I did wrong so that I don't do it again in the next relationship. But we
Mm-hmm.
generally don't always, we can't put our finger on what it is that we did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, honey.
Right.
You're fine. You're good. And so, yeah, I think it's a weird cycle. It's imposter syndrome, and then it turns into, it literally goes. It's a very meticulous trail.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with imposter syndrome, and then because you already feel like you don't know if you're in the right place, you don't know if you belong, then the quiet responses makes you feel even more like an imposter.
Mm.
And then it makes you feel like, am I being rejected? Am I doing something wrong? And it's so funny because I got to give it to the devil. He's pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
He knows, he studies us, right? He's pretty intelligent. But it literally all boils down to, it's all a trick of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's so simple. I know it's so old school. I sound like my mother right now. It's just so like, that's a trick of the enemy. You got to rebuke it.
No, listen.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, right? I think it all kind of is, like you said, a vicious cycle of imposter syndrome, which is like almost you rejecting your own ability. It's you rejecting your own ability, or believing you don't even have the ability to be in the spaces or the places that you are in or potentially can be in. And then there's also the, like the rejection or abandonment, that all those kind of those points can be triggering for just about anybody, especially when you're going through an area of transition and trying to find yourself, right? Because then what it does is it makes you second guess everything you're doing, everywhere you are, even the new people that you're encountering into your journey. And it almost makes you sometimes feel like you want to backtrack into, because it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm outside of God's will. Like maybe I should be somebody's first lady, or
oh my God. I'm sorry, I gotta say this. You know what's so crazy is that you go from, you don't want people to tell you what you're supposed to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when they stop, you feel abandoned.
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy? It's actually very normal. However, it's like, if you sit and think about it, it's like, oh, okay.
Listen, and I think this can happen at any time in your life. It doesn't matter what age you're at, because many people, I've spoken about this before, but like when I lost my mom, I was 31 years old.
Yeah.
And I was grown, paying my bills, doing what I needed to do for myself.
Absolutely.
But like, I spoke to my mom on every single day for every single thing in my life, to make every decision. I've always like ran it by her.
I call Shirley Ann. I'm like, Ma, what am I supposed to do? I boil this? Do I do the water? Which one am I supposed to do?
Listen, I would be in the grocery store and be like, is this a good price for a steak? What is this supposed to look like?
Pictures of, especially living in another city. Mom, are they taking my money?
Yeah. And for everything, right? Because I could learn from her life experience and her wisdom, and then also just being my mom, right? That's what she's been for me my whole life.
Right.
And so I remember going through that transition, although it was not rejection, obviously.
Right.
But losing her made me feel like I kind of had I felt like I did not even know where to belong in life anymore. Like, it made me lose my sense of security. I felt unstable. because I didn't have that person to tell me anymore what to do, or like that I even trusted on what my next step is. You know what I mean? And I mean everything. I'm talking about the minute I even if I liked a guy, I'd be like, what do you think? Here's the picture.
Right.
Like, what do you discern in his spirit? Does he need deliverance?
Like, Mom, is this the one?
Is this it?
And you know my mother.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Shirley Ann be in, okay?
And I know she's gonna tell you the truth too, huh?
Straight up, every time.
Yeah. So listen, so that support, that it made me feel like I didn't know how to make decisions anymore. It made me feel like I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't feel confident because I was like, how am I going to know what steak to buy? Well, like the minimal, but like even going, into like all the other phases that I've gone through since she's been gone, have been challenging, but I've gotten through them. I've been successful at them. And I've kind of, even as a grown woman, I kind of was able to get my own fins flapping on my own, and that confidence and that imposter syndrome, and maybe in different areas of my life, started to cease because I realized that life was going on and I was making decisions, and good ones, and even when I wasn't making maybe the best decisions, I was able to learn so I can make a better decision the next time. Right. And I believe, I really, really, really believe this. I think my mom, her time here on earth was over. Whatever her ministry, whatever her mission here was done, and the Lord was ready to take her home. But I believe that a part of it too was so that I could grow and take the crutches off and start to walk on my own.
You know how much maturity that takes to say that?
She had to go because I was so dependent on her for everything. And I'm talking about to pray for me, right? To whatever, to look out for me, I keep using the steak thing, but like that actually is a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is this the good price for cheese? Like just anything. And so I've had to make those decisions. I've had to become more independent than I had been before. And I've watched myself transition to a mini Yvette. My mom's name was Yvette. And I found myself becoming more and more like her, taking care of my family the way that she took care of them. I mean, I used to cook. I can cook. She taught me how to cook.
Yeah.
But like I was cooking, like making things. It was elevated. My life has literally elevated since she's been gone. Of course, the sadness is still there. I miss her like all the time. But I've also seen myself go to the next level in my life, right? Yeah. And so that is the beauty of what you're saying in your life lesson and going through that transition phase, is that when you're when you're kind of going up creek and you have to do it without the approval and the support of the people.
That approval and support is stabilizing.
Yes, it is. It is stabilizing, but sometimes we have to be shaken up a bit in order to get to the next level in our journey and in our life. And I know that I'm a living testimony, and I can see that you are too. Look at you now. You're flourishing, from what it seems anyhow. You're flourishing, and you've gone for this beautiful, beautiful, fulfilling career that is going to be impactful in so many people's lives. Like, I'm so excited when I'm able to find Christian therapists, right?
Hard to find.
Hold on. Christian therapists of color. Hold on. Christian therapists color, but also that is Black. You know what I mean? And understands the culture.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so all those things are so not common. Yeah. And like my therapist, she's a lovely lady of Caucasian descent. Mm-hmm. But she is saved, UPC saved. Gotcha. And that wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. But she's turned out to be, Rachel is my homegirl, my dog, like somebody I can actually, I can talk about whatever it be, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm going through. And we can speak on a spiritual level and also on a more practical level, which is
Absolutely.
so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why I'm so excited for you and your journey, and you're going to be, helping the people who really, really need it,
Mm-hmm.
which is, the church community, and especially the Black church community.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you.
I'm so proud of you. And first of all, I love how you have like really shared your story progressively as
Mm-hmm.
time has gone on about your mom, and
Mm-hmm.
to hear and to see how far you have come and the lessons that you were able to take out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really inspiring, and it is it's not the most common thing. And that's how I know that you have, when I say the most common thing, I mean in the sense of you are able to have a positive outlook on such a traumatic event.
Mm-hmm.
And most people lack that ability. Also, it is very telling to your relationship with the Lord, because only God could get you to that point where you're like, he had to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You were young. And so like that is a testimony. And one of the biggest things, people don't like to use this word because it makes them feel bratty.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to death, one of the first I'll say one of the first responses that people have is abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
Feel abandoned. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how grown you are. You can have your own kids, your own husband, wife. A lot of people automatically feel abandoned. They're also
Mm-hmm.
very ashamed to say that or acknowledge that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, well, I'm grown. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's life and death. And I mean, it's the normal progression of life, but it's true and it's honest. And so, yeah, you you are a strong woman.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And listen, it hasn't been easy. And I 100% believe that God had to keep his hand on me, because it was a difficult season. COVID. It was at the top of COVID, March of 2020,
Wow.
the worst time ever,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a really, really, really challenging time. But I know that it's only God that could have kept me. My mind,
Yeah.
my I don't know. Sorry. But yeah, it's only God. It's only God. It's only God. And that's all I'll say about that, because I just know that a lot of people that may have experienced certain things that I had, I don't know. I think they might have been locked up in a mental home, right? Because just not only because of the circumstances of losing her, but also like how it all happened. It was so sudden, was very difficult. I think at the first few months, it was really, really hard, because when she passed away with me. She passed out, and I had to perform CPR to because she had completely lost consciousness. Her heart stopped. She went into cardiac arrest. So when the ambulance got there, they basically took her to the hospital and pronounced her dead. So for me, what my struggle was, did I do it right? Did I make sure that her airwaves were open? Was it my fault? Did I not do the compressions hard enough? You know what I mean? It was a first. I mean, I've done first responder classes. I have to do it for my work.
Right. Okay.
But this is the first time I've ever had to do it on anyone other than a dummy.
Yeah.
And so it was so difficult. And then there was isolation. Nobody was allowed to come to your house. It was locked down. Couldn't go anywhere. Got laid off from my job like 2 weeks or a month after that. So I'm sharing this not to, I'm letting you know that it's not by my own.
Oh God.
It was God. It was all God. So I give him all the praise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jesus. Thank you for it. Because and I know this is so cliche, and I don't say it to everybody.
Yeah.
But you literally don't look like what you've been through.
And I know.
You know what I'm saying?
And I know.
You are beautiful. You don't look broken down. And the thing is, granted, I remember when it happened. I do remember it was the pandemic. And granted, while I was not seeing you in person, the way you were still showing up just on social media. And I know, like, social media is fake, da da da. No, but you were still showing up. You were still, and I remember looking like you never looked broken down. And I know you felt it. Yeah. And so it's so amazing how such a dark time has turned into, is still turning into such a beautiful testimony. Because I mean, God has proven several things to you. You know what I'm saying? He's proven sustaining power, grace. I mean, just the ability to help you navigate. Your faith and your trust in him is probably through the roof compared to where it was. And so it's like you have, so like I said, most people don't respond the way that you have. And it's the grace,
absolutely,
mercy of God on you. And it's also like, okay, God, what are you about to do with me? Because you really kept me. Like, you really kept my mind. And so,
and let me tell you, I had this conversation with my pastor, and he said to me, because I said, I feel like my life is just back to back to back, like trauma. You know what I mean? It's just one thing after the next. It felt like the last few years was just like a lot of bad things that were happening, right? And so I remember saying to him, like, what is this about? Like, is this like the chickens have come home to root? Like, did I do something that I don't know about? Like, is these seeds that I'm now, like, that I sown that I'm reaping? Like, and he said, well, Arian, you decided to take on the assignment that God put on your heart, right? The lifeboat. I said, yeah. He goes, well, how do you expect to share life lessons if you don't have any life experience? Like, if you're going to be doing the lifeboat and rescuing people in the sea of distress, then you're going to need to know how to navigate those waters. And I said,
people,
can I resign? That was what I first said. Can I go ahead and resign then? Because I don't want to have to go through all of this.
The
right?
concept of you having or being able to rescue people while you need to be rescued is in itself wild. You know what I'm saying? And it's go ahead.
It comes from just me. I think a lot of it comes from there being a lack of transparency in the people that I was around, especially within the church, right? People always had a testimony of how great God was and how great their life was, but seldom did we see people share the journey, the pain, the mistakes, the falls, before they got to the glory, right? And so I was just being an inquisitive and a curious person. I always was like, well, so you trying to tell me you don't have like temptations? You don't, like, I love the fact that you wear your holy attire, but you trying to tell me you never are tempted to want to fornicate, or like you don't find brother so-and-so, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have those feelings.
Yeah. The lack of transparency is so dangerous.
Right. And I'm like, because why? It paints a picture of perfection, which is so dangerous for people, newer believers, people who are looking up to other people.
Yeah.
It gives you a false sense of perfection, and you don't get to really understand the journey. So when you're struggling, you're wondering what's wrong with me. Right. And so I felt that way a lot of the times, being a young person in the church. And I'm like, well, listen, if we're going to overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, then in order to overcome, well, we're going to have to be able to be transparent and share the journey of the testimony. And then we can share the goodness of it. But the journey is important too, right? The lessons are important. The mistakes are important, because what that allows is for people to, one, either if they're going through it, they know that they're not the only ones to go through it. Two, they get to see someone who's gone through it and overcome. So it gives you hope. Three, it also gives people who've been through it and overcome, let them know that they're not alone. There's other people who have gone through that same struggle. And so it creates community. It creates it builds confidence. And it also allows people to know that there's room for error and mistake, and then there's grace to grow from that. And so this is what this platform is literally built on. It's built on that, and a need that I saw in my own life coming through. I've had to be bold and make my mistakes and not necessarily care, but I've had to walk to the beat of my own drum. Let's just put it that way. In some areas, and I'm glad to be able to share it with other people so that they don't have to feel alone the way that I kind of sometimes felt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think too, like, because you're not a representative of trauma, because that's what, like, you don't look like this. You literally represent victory. And so, like, when it comes to people naturally, especially I think of young women all the time, there are women that look at you like, oh, she's cute. Oh, she's got it. Oh, she has, like, there's a power to her. But then you actually do share it, it's like, okay, so I may go through all of this in my personal life, at home, at school, whatever, but I can actually turn out like that. And that's why I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you.
So many people hide it, and that wears me thin. And I understand it. I do. Actually, I understand why people don't want to talk about their traumatic stories. It's understandable. But the people who are willing to actually do it,
listen, yeah,
they get an extra drool on their crown. It's hard. It's not actually easy.
No, it puts you in a vulnerable place, right?
And sometimes it makes you leave feeling maybe humiliated, because it's like, did I just make a fool of myself by saying all of that? You know what I'm saying? So it takes so much bravery and trust in God to actually build a platform of being this beautiful example, but also very vulnerable with, this is what I've gone through.
Girl, yes. And sometimes I know, like you were saying earlier, the devil tries to play me, and I'm like out here thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm sharing this testimony. I mean, obviously with wisdom, right? I'm not out here just being reckless.
Absolutely,
you know,
right.
You know what I mean? But sharing, and there have been times where I'm like, what if this comes back to bite me in my like in the future or whatever? People, this is on the internet. I'm out here on Al Gore's internet telling everyone about, and so, but I'm like, and so those are the like intrusive thoughts that can come in every now and then you're like, but when you think about the bigger picture and the assignment and the why, it kind of brings you right back down to reality, right? Which is, there's a bigger purpose here, and I know it's not listen. If I was doing this for popularity or fame or any kind of recognition, trust me, I would have wrapped it up and hung my hat up a long time ago. Okay, because I've been doing this since 2018, and if it was for the social media influencer, this is not what it's been, But last week I got a message from my pastor saying that someone listened to our Lifeboat 2 weeks ago on me returning to school and just sharing my journey as a mature student. And they messaged him, I don't even know this person, and said, I saw the video you shared to your page, and I just decided to go back to nursing school. I'm going back to school because of the video you sent. That is why I do this.
For those people.
Not one person,
And the thing is, but it's growing. And truth is, you're gonna impact more people than that. Okay, I'll say it like this: you're going to impact more people than people who come back and thank you. If we only, that's Bible. If we only gauge our impacts and our influence based on people that are coming in our DMs and saying, "You blessed me," we're gonna get discouraged.
Listen, didn't one leper come back to thank him? Huh? Don't let me get it. Don't let me start preaching.
Because listen, we can go.
We can go. But no, yes, you're completely right. And that's another thing that I've kept in my mind from the very beginning, which is, this is not for the accolades and the praise. Because again, I would have hung up my hat a long time ago. But I truly believe that this is a mission that God's put on my heart. And so this is for God. This is for him. This is for his glory, and let it be. But I want to get back to you, though.
I'm like, Lord, what you about to do in her life?
Quick. I want to get back to you. So you finished your degree now, and I know that you want to start. I know you've got your hours to complete, and are those completed? No, you got to start that now.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Yeah. They're done.
Oh, they're done.
They're done.
Awesome.
No, awesome. I'm sorry. Let me clarify. There are different levels to hours. So there are some hours for my next license that I have to accumulate, right? But the hours I need for right now, they are done.
Amen. So what's next for you?
What's next? Ooh, I love that question. I also hate that question.
Oh, no. I know, right? I get it.
So I am, well, actually, I have some things that I am working on that I don't want to release just yet. To be very honest, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I am working on something. I'm working on some things actually for ministry families. And so that's
families? Okay.
Yes, for pastors' kids. That I'm possibly going to be releasing by the end of the year.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't want to say anything too soon. But I am working on that. And so that is, of course, I'm working on some personal things, some personal career things. But for my family, I am working to put something out specifically for ministry families.
Oh, that's.
So yes. So keep me in your prayers, please. Please keep me in your prayers.
Listen, will do. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what's next and your impact on this world. With the singing, with the therapy. Singing therapist. I love it. It's a beautiful journey. I'm excited for you. I know that I remember I'm like a really weird person. I kind of sit back and observe people because I'm kind of a little bit introverted. But I just remember just obviously from meeting you in 2017 to now, like I've watched you from a distance. Just kind of grow, and I could see you could always tell even by how people post, what people say. I've seen your growth and your transition, and I've seen the wisdom, and I've seen some of the maturity, and I've I remember thinking to myself, because I have an idea of what it's, I'm not a PK. But I come from a very churchy. I don't want to use churchy, but
I get it. You good?
We church. So,
right.
And so I know what it can feel like to be, in those kind of positions. And what I will say is I've seen you transition from being. And please don't take this in any way, because I mean it in the best way possible, but being like the little sister, the pastor's daughter, to transforming into, you're still those things, but an individual. I saw you become more comfortable in your personality, and even just the way that you express yourself, with whether it be your hair, with your style, with your makeup, just little things where I saw it started to kind of change and to fuse and to merge. And I saw you kind of like blossom. I can see that you were going through transition. And it doesn't just happen internally, right? When someone is going through transition, because there's also a physical transition, whether you notice it or not. And I was like, something is happening. She's transforming. And I knew that moving away from home, whether it be for school or not, was gonna kind of broaden your perspective, and it was gonna shift your paradigm, because that's all that's gonna do.
Absolutely, every time,
right? Coming out of your comfort zone is gonna really shift and really make you reconsider maybe some of the things that you hadn't considered. So, Sharon, Alise.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Do you think that you going down this journey of ministry and therapy are able to do that in a way that now, because you mentioned in the beginning that, you know, it's kind of scary to go through those transitions or going to therapy when you feel like you're in a position of like being vulnerable, especially in the city that you're in. How are you now as a therapist going to make that a safe space for people who may have thought the same way that you did?
What you just did, sharing my story.
Wonderful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When somebody knows that they have a person that can relate, it automatically disarms them. So, yeah.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Now to kind of wrap up, this is a beautiful conversation and we can keep going because I have so many other things I want to ask you, but we're over time now. Sharon, Alise, what is anything that you want to, is there anything that you want to, like your final words that you want to add to this before we go? What's the last thing you want to leave with the audience?
God created you, so don't be afraid to be you. You're in his likeness.
Yeah.
His likeness.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. Be yourself, you know? And the more that we, and the thing is, because God created us and God is also within us, the more that we strive to be like him, the easier it is to just navigate. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for being here on the Lifeboat and sharing your life journey and being so transparent. I mean, I love that. I love the honesty. I love the, you know, the transparency. It's going to bless so many people. So thank you for coming on here and just being you and being authentic and being true. Can you let us know where, you know, who may want to kind of follow you to see what is coming up next? You know, your different platforms. Just let us know what your social media platforms are. What do you call it? What are they called again? Tags?
Those handles, I think.
Handles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you guys can follow me on Instagram. It is officially Alise, and my name is at the bottom, so you can see how to spell it. Officially, with a Y, officially Alise. I'm not that active on Twitter, so I don't even direct people over there.
Yeah.
And Facebook, it is Sharon Alise.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so you heard it here. Make sure that you go follow her on the Instagram and the Facebooks and all that other stuff. And make sure that you just show her some love. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit share if you're on Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Lifeboat with Absolutely Arian. Hit the notification bell so that you know every time we go live. Now, this is the season finale, so we won't be back until the end of the year. But I'm so happy for you to be here, and I'm so glad that you were my final guest for 2023. Thank you so much again, Alise. I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage and sign off for the night, okay? Thank you. All right, guys. So listen, this has been a beautiful season of The Lifeboat with Absolutely Arian. We have had so many amazing guests on here to share their life stories and their life lessons. And I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you missed any of the episodes, you can always go back and check out the replays. I have the whole YouTube channel there that you can go and watch them. Or if you're on my Facebook page, Arian FD, you can watch them there as well. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all those who tuned in every single week, who participated, who left comments, who just hit me in my inbox to let me know how much you love the show and love the topics. Your support means everything to me, and I love you all. Thank you again. We sign off. I'm gonna miss you, but we'll be back. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Jared, and thank you, Adelia, and I see Nancy and Regina, and Olivia. I saw Eddie on here. Thank you for all of your love and your support and your comments. I will be going back and looking over them if I missed them. And I will see you next season on The Lifeboat. But until then, take care.